Hi, I'm Dan Sahd of Sahd Metal Recycling. Thank you for a great 2021, and we're going to give you hopefully an educated preview about what's ahead in 2022. It's really stunning if you think about it to understand where metals are now compared to where they were then, and where the US dollar was then compared to where it is now. If you would have told me that the US dollar is going to be up pretty markedly throughout the year from the beginning of January, and at the same time metals would increase by even more, I'd think you're crazy. But that's the kind of thing that happened this year. It was just the most disjointed year ever, as everyone understands and has lived it. But there were other factors that were at play. So beginning of the year, copper sitting at $3.59, now $4.29. Really big increase. Aluminum in particular, 91.44 on January 4th, 124 right now. Nickel, 789, a little more moderate, 789 to 890. Really stunning increases throughout the year that happened, as I said, with the backdrop of the dollar also gaining. So the dollar right now is at 96.69, touching a 52-week high, just shy of that. Beginning of the year, January 4th, it was under 90. It was actually 89.97, slightly under 90, but under 90. That's a really dramatic rise within a year. Also, more finance, 10-year treasury yield, under 1. It was 91.7. Now it's 1.40. So some huge discrepancies and things that really don't add up and make sense that would add to this big metal market we've had this year. Obviously, as we know, it's the supply chain issues, the shortages, the labor shortage and labor increases that have impacted it, and all kinds of things going on. We also have a backdrop of inflation that we obviously know how that's impacting, and at the same time, all kinds of issues related to infrastructure. So the infrastructure is going to cause probably more of a strain on some of these materials and may give it even more of a boost. So that's kind of a backdrop on where we were at the beginning of 2021 and where we ended. And looking at that from a steel point of view, busheling, number one busheling, was at 460. This is Philadelphia. And this month is at 550, a 20% increase. HMS number one, 415 to 440, much more moderate. So steel actually, from a scrap point of view, was much more stable this year than some of the non-ferrous, except for the busheling on the high end. So it's a very interesting time. It's scary to make predictions because, as you can see, if you would have said that at the beginning of the year, the dollar is going to increase by that much, and metals would too, I'd think you're crazy. So looking ahead to 2022, I think some of the things we know that we can count on as being there in the background is the inflation. We already know the Fed has announced 3 rate hikes for next year. So that, I believe, will be the biggest impact on what metals outlook has for 2022. If they stick to 3 rate hikes, and if there are 3 small rate hikes or 3 bigger rate hikes, what that should do, in theory, is strengthen the dollar and make us look good compared to other currencies, which should dampen metals. Don't know if that's going to happen. Obviously this year, that dollar impact wasn't enough to make an impact on it, and metals rose in spite of that. Maybe you could say even that metals would have gone up higher had it not been for the drag of the dollar. And that's what we're going to have to look at next year. I think that really is the biggest factor underlying everything. We've seen asset prices across the board overinflated in everything, real estate, every asset class, kind of overpriced, and metals could be another one that is, no different, not vulnerable to anything as all tides are lifted. So all boats are lifted. We shall see. So that's 2022. Right now, as I said, copper at 430, nickel at 890, and aluminum at 124. We'll see where we end up. I'm thinking that this is a good outlook for metals because the backdrop is a pretty strong backdrop of factors. And as I said, I think the Fed would be the one factor that's iffy, that we don't know how much of an impact the rate hikes are going to have and how that filters out across the board. So again, thank you for a great 2021. It's been a very good one here. We appreciate all of our customers' business. We've been selling a lot of metal from the yard to our local people who come in and look to buy scraps and things like that because it's hard to find. And we've been buying a lot of metal from a lot of our customers. So it's great to see everyone busy and running, and our best wishes for a wonderful 2022 for everyone. So thanks again, and it's Dan Sahd signing off and thanking everyone for a great year and wishing you the best in 2022.